Welcome to the GC BizCast, a collaboration of J. Whitney Bunting College of Business and Technology and the Department of Communication at Georgia College and State University. Here we discuss important topics with today's business leaders and educators. We produce weekly podcasts from our beautiful campus in Milledgeville, Georgia. We're excited that you've joined us. Our conversations should inform you and entertain you. The views expressed are the views of the individuals on the program and do not represent the views of Georgia College and State University. So, let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Georgia College BizCast. I'm your host, Sruti. I'm a senior marketing major.
And my name is Tate Hunter. I'm a sophomore management major here at Georgia College.
And we are here with a very special guest. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Yegor. I'm one of the co-founders of PitchVantage.
Awesome. So Yegor, you have been a consultant for GE. You've worked in the Peace Corps. You've co-founded your own company. Can you tell us a little bit about that timeline, kind of like how those experiences led to another?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been an interesting life so far. We founded PitchVantage in 2014 when I was getting my MBA at the University of Arizona. Really the reason we founded this company was because we kind of saw a need that we ourselves needed filled, which was practice and help with presentation and communication skills. I'm an ESL person. I was a refugee from Russia back when I was young, and my co-founder is actually from India. So I think it's especially a public speaking and presentation skills, especially a problem a lot of people with ESL struggle with. But really, it's the second biggest fear in the world after fear of snakes. So it's a giant problem. While I was in the corporate world, actually, we got some amazing presentation skills training. So they would fly us out somewhere, bring in a coach for 3 days, videotape us, give us feedback one-on-one. I mean, it was super, super awesome, super incredible and personalized. But by the time we got to business school, forgot all of that stuff because we weren't practicing it, and we weren't getting that feedback continuously. So we kind of saw a gap in the market and said, well, how can we really create that type of experience of really awesome on-demand presentation training that's fun and engaging, but is accessible to everyone, democratized and accessible on demand. So that's kind of how the idea for the company started.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Could you highlight some of the key features of PitchVantage that users find most valuable?
Yeah, absolutely, Tate. So PitchVantage is an AI for presentation and communication skills, and we're now expanding into interview skills as well. It's basically able to listen to you, look at you, and tell you if you're boring, if you're speaking too fast, and kind of correct some of those things and make you a better and more engaging communicator. So we specifically do AI analytics on delivery, content, body language, slides, and we also built it for the classroom. So we give professors a bunch of really neat tools to kind of help streamline presentations in the classroom, help make their life a little bit easier so they're more focused on teaching versus kind of doing the busy work.
I remember when Dr. Risvold actually gave us a small little presentation using PitchVantage in class, and I found that the features that I enjoyed the most were those little interactive ones that you could they would give you little feedback, or they would almost talk back and stuff like that. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I think it's so important that we have platforms like this, because as a senior in college, about to go into the workforce, I feel like those are skills that honestly we don't really talk about in school much. It's kind of just something you're expected to know how to do. So I'm really excited for what the future of this is going to look like. Kind of onto that, can you share a little bit about how the platform will integrate into academic programs and what the benefits are for students?
Yeah, absolutely. So we currently work with over 500 universities, which is kind of crazy to say. And it's everyone from Harvard and Yale to large state schools, community colleges all throughout the US. I think we have representation probably in every state. And typically our clients are business schools. That's a very common user. And that's really the world where we started and that we know. So that's where we started growing. But now we have representation from public speaking, speech, communications as well. But schools use it in many different ways. Specifically, one common use case is in classes with presentations. The professors will implement PitchVantage to help students practice their presentation skills and get that AI feedback on demand before they come into the classroom and give their actual presentations. So what happens is the students are more practiced, they're more comfortable, less nervous. So by the time they do their presentation in the classroom, it's a much more fun experience for both the professor and the students and the listeners.
Yes, sir. How do you see the landscape of presentation and pitch skills evolving in the upcoming years? Are there any trends that you see heading this way that you can adapt to?
Yeah, very, very interesting question. So the world is changing rapidly. There's some major innovations, and the two I would like to highlight is this type of communication on virtual platforms and Zoom, and the second is AI. So first, there's been a huge advent of communication through online platforms. Zoom is probably the most common and known one. This was already on the rise, and then once COVID happened, everybody went to that platform, and now it's becoming more of a standard. So it's a slightly different modality. There's some differences in things like eye contact or actually communicating effectively on Zoom. So we're trying to implement more feedback and tutorials that are centered specifically around virtual communication, because I only see that accelerating in the near future with kind of remote work continuing to be a strong trend. The other one is AI. So the world has completely changed in the last 8 months with ChatGPT. Not only is our students using it to kind of help them with their learning and assignments, but also it's making possible a whole new generation of AI tools where we can do much more complex analysis and feedback. Just to give you an example, like traditionally PitchVantage started with delivery. So things like, are you being boring? Are you speaking too fast? Are you not pausing enough? That was kind of the first generation. But now we can actually listen to the students, understand what they're actually saying through AI, tell them if that's accurate, and also how they can do it better. So it just opened a tremendous amount of possibilities. It's still early in this AI revolution, but we already started using large language models in our tool to provide really complex content analysis and also enable professors to put any type of prompt in the tool or any type of specific evaluation criteria, which the AI can analyze for them. For example, like they can put, did the students use example in the presentation? And then AI spits out an answer, which is kind of crazy and was impossible 12 months ago. So it's nuts.
That is crazy, yes, sir.
I think like just seeing the way that AI has transformed a classroom is insane. And I think there's like a little bit of tension, honestly, with like the professors and the platform, and trying to be like, how do we partner with it instead of just asking our students to completely disregard it?
Yes.
Because I don't think that's necessarily the right way to go about it, but like we need to figure out how we're gonna coexist in the educational world. Kind of off of that, what do you think are some of the trends that are emerging in this industry, and what do you think PitchVantage is trying to like keep their eye on?
So it's a brave new world. There's a lot of tension with professors trying to do things like they've always done. The students are trying to embrace ChatGPT, and there's also a bunch of new tools emerging to both help the professors and the students. So it's interesting because now the written assignment has lost some of its value, right? If we look at assignments in general, a lot of them in college are written assignments, but now the students can go to ChatGPT and have something be spit out, and the professor will most likely not know the difference. It's not, and there's tools to kind of catch that type of let's say cheating, but the tools are never going to keep up with the advent of ChatGPT, because that's always going to get better and better and better, much faster than the tools to catch it are going to. So now it's interesting, like where do we shift those that work to make sure the students are doing honest work? And a lot of it seems like presentations, because it's kind of hard to fake a presentation. You still have to do a video with your face on it, or you have to stand in front of a class and deliver. So I think there's a lot less opportunity for let's say cheating or improvisation with students. And that's kind of what we're embracing. We're embracing those large language models to make PitchVantage even better, provide richer analysis to the students, and like it's opening up a whole new world, like interview skills. Like we just created an interview skills mock interview tool where there's like a human avatar who asks you a question. It looks like a real human. You record a response and it's able to say, okay, like this is what you did wrong, or this is what you could do better. This is a perfect response. This is how you can shift it. And it's available to the students on demand. And it's like you just mentioned that you're going to graduate soon. So that would be like a perfect solution to help you make sure you land that job that you really desire.
I feel like in the past few years, we've seen really AI become integrated into like our everyday lives in a lot of different forms. But like, I wanted to ask you, in the business and professional world, are you seeing like these interpersonal skills gain more importance and prominence than they were before?
You know, Tate, I believe, and I have some data on this, that they always have been important, because there's like surveys that are done every year by business schools asking employers, like, what do you need from our students? So, like, what do you desire from our graduates? And like, communication is always number one. Always. It's like number one or two. So it's always been a top need. And I think, you know, we live in an interesting world. With COVID, was a huge wave of communication anxiety. You know, people are much more anxious about presenting or like standing in front of other people and delivering their message. So it's becoming even more of a challenge. And I think with this new generation of graduates and job seekers, companies are going to keep giving the same feedback. We're like, okay, when you graduate students, they need to have strong communication skills, both written and speech. So yeah, I think it has been really important, and I think it'll continue to be as important, if not more important.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In workplaces where I guess technology is like very significant, do you think that these skills are contributing to a positive work dynamic? I guess, like, do you think that these, I don't know, like in an environment where technology is very important and very like integrated, do you think that those skills are at risk of kind of losing their?
You know, I can't predict the future. That's one thing. That's one thing we always fail to do, is predict how things are going to look in the future. But with remote work, there's a certain possibility that maybe communication is going to become more like this, you know, through virtual tools or chat. And speaking face to face is going to be less important. But I do still think that even with highly technologized workspaces, it's still going to be a key element. If you think about it, like just to rise into leadership position, to lead teams, you still need those skills. You still need to deliver those messages effectively, lead the team correctly, and kind of grow your career as well. So I do think that people who are going to be best at those skills are the ones that are going to rise through the organizations.
I completely agree with you. I don't think that there's ever going to be a time, no matter how big AI gets, and I mean, honestly, I think it's only up from here. Like, I don't think that there's ever going to be a point where it minimizes how important communication is. There are some things a robot just cannot do, and it can't replace. So I think that the platform that you've created is it has such an important place in the market. Have you always been like, was it something you were interested in, like effective communication, interpersonal relationships? Was it something you were always interested in, or?
You know, I can't say it was like a childhood, you know, like as a kid, I wanted to become a founder of a software that teaches people how to present better. But I wanted to be a geologist, I think. So it was something I kind of fell into just through the path of my career. It's like I had like 9 jobs with GE in a pretty short amount of time, just being in leadership programs, and I just saw the importance of communication skills. And then again, when we were doing business communications training in MBA, I saw it again, and that pattern connected for me. And I was super lucky that my business partner, I wasn't an entrepreneur when I met him. He was already an entrepreneur with a couple of businesses under his belt. And I was lucky that I met somebody that kind of knew how to execute on that idea that we had. So in many ways, I got very, very fortunate and lucky.
Yes, sir. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Something Sruti said. She was talking about how there are some of these skills that AI will never be able to do, like these interpersonal skills that we as humans have. So I think it's more important than ever to really master these basic skills that only we can master. So I just wanted to hear some advice from you as to like for people looking to enhance their presentation skills, like what advice would you give to them?
It's simple. I mean, all it is practice. So to me, presentation skills is a muscle that you need to keep training. Like just like you go to the gym, it's just something. The more you do, the more comfortable you become. Even if you're like very, very anxious about public speaking or not used to it, I think with enough practice, anybody can become a strong speaker. Like as long as we desensitize ourselves enough to that fear and anxiety. That's the biggest thing I would say is just practice. And if you can add effective feedback on top of that and timely feedback, that's the best, because that really helps. Like practice makes perfect, but it takes perfect practice, and that's kind of really the concept we try to capture in PitchVantage.
That's a really interesting concept. I've never really heard of that before. Would you say that, I guess, in creating this platform, do you think that there was any, I guess, like a specific testimonial that really stood out to you, like something that you got to hear from a student or a business professional?
Yeah, we've been fortunate. We've had like hundreds of those by now, which is kind of cool. I mean, one example is we had like a class where there was a lot of ESL students at Cal State Fullerton, like early on when we were starting our business, and the class implemented PitchVantage, and it was like we saw the videos of the students trying to present before they used it, and then what their presentation looked like by the end of class, and it was like night and day. Like sounded like a different person, minds completely blown. So and I'm fortunate to say that experience has repeated from both like professors and students. We have like 98% renewal rate with professors, so they keep coming back to it once they start using it. And students' feedback has also been like really, really positive. So it's cool. It's cool to work in a business where people are like, hey, this is like helping my life. Like this helped me to become more confident and less anxious, and like gonna help me do better in my career. Like that's awesome to me. Like if I, even if one person ever said that, I think we kind of accomplished our mission, and we've been fortunate enough where now it's like thousands of people.
It's interesting that you mentioned confidence, because I don't know, a lot of times you kind of assume that confidence is like a personality trait, and like certain personalities have it, certain personalities don't, but it really is like a practice makes perfect kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it was cool that you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess last question.
Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna comment on that I think it's all about skill development. That's how we gain confidence in any skill development, and public speaking and presentation skills is no different.
Well, just to wrap up, I guess we love getting people on here who have already, I guess, like gone through the hurdle of starting their own business. And we know that going off after college, there's going to be a lot of students who are eager to do that. So do you have any advice for college students with an entrepreneurial spirit who like want to start their own business?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much advice. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I guess my journey was a bit unique, that I basically kind of experienced both sides of being a business professional working in the corporate world, and and starting my own business. So I'm gonna go a bit. I'm gonna go a bit contrarian. I would say don't start your business immediately out of college. Go find a job with a really big company, good company, like maybe one with a leadership program, and go and work in the corporate world. Learn those skills. Learn how to do the basics. Learn how to execute at a high level under a lot of stress with a bunch of work, and how to solve how to problem solve. I think that really helped me and gave me confidence to start this business because I worked on such crazy problems, global, massive problems around the world with GE. And by the time I did this, I was like, okay, we could probably figure this out. So I would say, like, go work in the corporate world in a couple of years. Like, if you have a business idea, do it as a side hustle. And if you see enough traction and growth there, you can always jump off of that job into entrepreneurship. But it's nice, having a good salary and a good lifestyle, and not being desperate and broke, especially if you have like college loans and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say there's something to be said about going the corporate route and getting a lot of learning and development like that before you start your own business.
It sounds like you really developed a solid foundation that you could grow upon. When starting your own company, which is awesome. super fortunate to get in with like a really good company that was really good at developing people. So I got lucky. Sir.
Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. We had so much fun. I feel like we learned a lot, and I think college students can really take a lot of advice from what you've said. So thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for a great interview and insightful questions. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.